What's cracking, YouTube? Ooh, another beautiful day here. I just did a quick stream on Twitter. I like to do my quick streams on Twitter at Classic Learner. And my longer streams I like to do on YouTube now that I'm streaming again. Although I don't have a lot of time here because I have a Bible study with my minister in about 30 minutes. But I wanted to do a quick stream because there's a few things happening in the world that I think sync nicely with one another, and they're really teachable moments, right? These are moments that people can learn how to properly defend. Don't you want to know how to properly defend yourself against government officials? You know what I find fascinating? You'll always hear you'll hear these douchebag politicians, right? And what do they say? I fear that black children can't walk down the streets because police officers harass them. Okay. We've identified a problem, allegedly. We've identified a problem. So what are you doing? So they'll tell you what we need to do is have no police officers. Because when we send our rioters to your home to burn down your businesses, we want to make sure you have no one to call so that you submit to the tyranny of Antifa and Black Lives Matter. That doesn't sound like a good solution at all. At all. So they'll identify a problem and they want you to complain about it, but they don't ever give you a solution. Like, all right, what if the politician said, and this would be a crazy idea, right? Why don't we teach children their rights, how to properly interact with a police officer and government official, and how to protect themselves when they find themselves in an uncomfortable situation? Wait a second. Are you talking about teaching an entire generation of children what their rights are and how to properly defend themselves against government? No. That's not a good idea. Get back to complaining. I want to hear you complain, but I don't want to hear you talk about teaching children how to defend themselves when they're approached by a government official. Earlier this week, we found out that a postal worker, I believe in the state of Pennsylvania, signed an affidavit. Now, for those of you that don't know, affidavit, it's a legal document. It's your testimony, your truth, right? It's no different than if you go into court, right, and you testify in front of a judge, they make you put your right hand on a Bible, put your left hand in the air. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. Well, another way to testify in front of a judge is you write up the paperwork and you sign an affidavit. And if you're caught lying on that affidavit, perjury, they could throw you in jail. So that's an affidavit. So earlier this week, a postal worker in Pennsylvania, I think, signed an affidavit saying that his higher-ups told him to backdate ballots so that ineligible ballots would be eligible for the presidential election. Well, he got a visit from a couple of federal agents, and apparently he didn't have good friends in his corner. Well, actually he did, but that's for another reason. But he sat down and had a long, I think a 2-hour conversation with these federal agents. Now, once he gave in that signed affidavit, right, he should have known that's your truth, that's your record. And if you say anything to those federal agents that they could even twist as maybe being out of line with that affidavit, they can get you charged with perjury and throw you in jail. So he should have never spoke to the federal agents. Now, if he grew up and was taught his rights properly, he would have known that. But he did speak with them, and the reports came out quickly after. The man that signed the affidavit about the voter fraud has recanted his position. He made it up. Well, it turns out that was wrong. Luckily, Project Veritas is really good at what they do, and apparently he recorded the whole interaction. So now that narrative is blown out the water. But regardless of the whole situation with the election, what I want to focus on is people understanding how to protect themselves in this situation, right? Like, I know not to talk to a federal agent. I know that you never answer a police officer's question. That if you interact with a police officer, you say, and again, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. This is my personal experience. Rather than answering questions, maybe you ask questions. Shift the liability to them. Because when you're answering the questions of government officials, anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law. They're telling you, you're testifying. So why, instead of you testifying, you ask the questions and get them to testify, especially if it's recorded. And now if they slip up at all, now liability has been shifted, not to you, you've shifted liability to them. To them. So then you take all of that, right? And today, New York State has announced that bars and restaurants must be closed after 10 p.m. So now the very people that just fixed an election and disenfranchised the United States of America are telling you, they're not forcing you to, but they're telling you, you better shut down your business. We're going to fine you. We're going to harass you. We're going to give you a real hard time. And what you'll see is a lot of outrage, a lot of compliance, or even people who push back against that, but do it belligerently. But what you won't see is a lot of people who file formal legal documentation preemptively. File documents, shifting liability so that you're taking the upper hand, so that if the government does come and tries to shut down your business, you could say, well, I filed this legal document, maybe requesting your higher-ups to show me what legal authority they have to shut down my business, yada, 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 and shifting liability so that you don't have to shut down your business. Now, I'm not a complete expert on this stuff, but I did shut down an entire voting booth just the other day, so I have put this into practice a little bit. And if you want to know more about it, go to Crow 777 Radio, CRROW 777 Radio, and check out his last month of stuff. Really? Are we live? I think we're live now. Anyway, what I was about to say is I am Classical Learner, right? My website, www.classicallearner.com. I work one-on-one with parents to make customized education. You let me stream, phone. All right, I'm assuming you guys can hear me now. So I always tell parents, don't educate your child to operate in the world you grew up in. Educate your children, and this is a crazy concept, to operate in the stream is buffering. Can you guys hear me now? Yes, can you hear me now? Verizon, AT&T, who pays more? Can you hear me now? All right, I'm just going to operate as if you guys can hear me. Oh, great. I was going to say, and if the stream sucks, it just sucks. So, don't prepare your children for the world you grow up in. Observe the world around you and prepare them for the world they're going to grow up in. How do you do that? Well, for starters, children need to know their rights. So yes, you can do constitutional studies, or if you're in England, the Magna Carta, I don't know, whatever you guys do. Whatever you guys do across the pond, I don't know. Yes, their future will be different from ours. And the beautiful thing is, we know that. Now, most parents, they will just continue to send their children to public school, and their children will not be ready to take on the world when they're adults. But for smarter parents, and this is what I'm so passionate about, this is what I do, we educate our children for the world as it really is and as it's going to be. And with everything I've seen with the video 19 situation, everything with that situation, got to work with the algorithms. What I'm seeing is that we need more than ever to teach children their rights, how to interact with government officials, how to operate in a courtroom. I know that might sound foreign. Like, what do you mean teach children to operate in a courtroom? I'm telling you to get a parking ticket on purpose and have your child fight the ticket for you. I know that's a radical idea. But children should be learning law at this point. And you start with the basics, just like anything else, right? You start math. Children should be what do you mean children should be learning math? Well, you start with 1 + 1 and, you work your way up to nuclear physics. You get the point. In the UK, people are fighting. And people are fighting all over the world, but the really smart people, like Tom Burnett in Australia, he's fighting because he has studied how to fight legally. Like he will preemptively serve up legal documents that puts the government in a bad position, whereas unless they answer his legal documents, which the way he structures them, they won't, because if they answer his documents, they basically accept liability that he puts on them. Again, I don't want to get too into it. That's not the point of this. But, we could really learn how to fight. But for our children, you start with basic, just like basic math, 1 + 1, and you start teaching them their rights. So, in America, I start with teaching the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the basics, what is an affidavit, how do court proceedings work, all of that stuff. You teach them their rights. And just like math and science, as they get to first grade, second grade, third grade, you start to get a little bit more complex with what they're doing, to the point where by the time they're high school age, if you do this right, they should be able to practice by fighting parking tickets and doing real things in court, serving notices of liability. Again, Tom Burnett, Crow 777 Radio. So my new thing, and this is really the last month, so I'm kind of thinking out loud. I do that. I think out loud a lot. We really need to focus on, as homeschool parents, and even parents that put our children into public school, teaching children their rights. Now, I think there's, I haven't signed up for it yet, but I've looked over their stuff. It looks pretty encouraging. Empowerment Solutions, or Solutions Empowerment. Just type in Google, Empowerment Solutions plus learning your rights. I think they have a lot of courses on teaching your rights and teaching rights to children. And eventually through my business, Classical Learner, I'm going to partner. I haven't even told people this. There's this guy, Earl, I know. He's genius. Eventually I plan on partnering with him and setting up training programs to really teach children their rights and how to defend themselves. But this is the type of stuff that we need to teach to our children. This is the type of stuff that I'm doing, and this is the type of stuff that I'm really passionate about, because when our children are when my black child is walking down the street and is harassed by a police officer, I don't want them to think the best way to handle that is to take out a knife and charge. No, I want them to understand how to properly interact with a police officer. You want to start by remaining in honor. For instance, if you're driving a car and a police officer pulls you over, you put your hands on the steering wheel, if not for any reason, because it is a human-to-human interaction, and I want that police officer to be nice and comfortable. And then the police officer comes over, and the first thing I say is, "Hi, officer, how can I help you today?" Because when you offer them your help, you are doing what's called staying in honor, right? Because that's nice that they have a badge, but it's really a human-to-human interaction. Okay, you pulled me over. I stopped willingly, under the threat of coercion, because you have a gun. How are you doing, officer? And he says, do you know why I pulled you over? I don't know what you know. Is there anything I could help you with? And you never answer their questions, because anything you say could be held against you in a court of law. And if they arrest you, you could put them on notice and say that I am surrendering myself under the threat of coercion because you're armed. And that's it. And you deal with it from there. What you don't do is pull out a knife or get in a fist fight with that person, a person armed with a gun, and then wonder why you got shot. I mean, come on. So, over the next, it's going to take me probably a year or two to really get it down. I'm going to really start partnering with some good people and putting together plans on how to teach children their rights. But these things take time. Like, I do things, usually a couple of, like, right when COVID started, I was like, I'm selling my house, I'm getting out of debt, I'm growing my own food. And now, like, with the riots and everything, everyone's selling their houses and they're trying to get out of the cities and whatnot. I usually operate a little bit ahead of the public, and I want to plant the seed in everyone's mind now. If you have a child, you really want to start focused, just start with the basics. Don't make it scary, right? Because most of us don't know our rights. We need to learn the basics, which is good. You learn it together. But we really need to start focusing on teaching children their rights, how to interact with authorities, and then once they understand their rights, how to interact with authorities, how to start sending out legal notices and using the law. The law is just a tool, right? No one understands it, so they get abused by it. But understanding the law so they can really start to use it in their favor so that when they carry out Agenda 2045 and release COVID 10,000, our children will know how to properly protect themselves. All right, guys, this has been fun. If you have any questions, let me know. But I do have an appointment with my minister. We do a weekly Bible study one-on-one because I'm a man of God. I really am. I couldn't recommend it enough. You know, people are turned off. It's raining on me. Rain on me. You know, people get turned off by a lot of people by, like, the church. Man, the Catholic Church that's not God. That's the devil. The Pope has a telescope named Lucifer. You think that's God? The Catholic Church tells you not to read the Bible. They tell you, they say, you don't read the Bible. We have people that read it, the experts. Oh, you're the expert? Why don't you go rape another child? You're expert. A bunch of unmarried men with no children who want to tell me about God. Be fruitful and multiply. Be fruitful. I'm doing a 666. That's just the thing I do. I'm not in the Illuminati. If I was in the Illuminati, I'm sure as hell not paid enough. My God. There is a statue of Moloch outside of the Vatican. Moloch is the god. Moloch is the god of child sacrifice. He loves Planned Parenthood. He's like, what you want to do when you get pregnant is kill your child. No, not very godly. But no, I study the Bible one-on-one with my minister once a week, and we really study the Word of God, and that's really helped my life. Like everything about it, because it's all about taking personal responsibility and do unto others as they do to you, treating people with respect, speaking honestly, speaking truth, avoiding usury, staying out of debt, spreading the Garden of Eden, growing your food. When you study the Bible, it empowers your life. When you listen to these cockroaches who subvert the Word of God, it turns people off to everything it's really about. So, all right, people, this has been a lot of fun. Smash the like button. Leave comments. Tell your friends about my channel. But seriously, no, tell your friends to go to www.classicallearner.com. Tell them you know this crazy guy who's talking about teaching children how to properly defend themselves against government authority. Isn't that a crazy No, I say we just complain. We just complain and make everyone feel bad and say, I'm just so upset that my black child can't walk down the street without being harassed by a police officer. So instead of teaching him how to properly defend himself by asserting his rights in that situation, I'm going to show him the video of a man attacking a police officer with a knife and then say, you see, they shot this man. This is an outrage. Rain on me. All right, YouTube.